Do you also sometimes forget how to draw? I think I made this video for myself. Hello, my name is Vic and today we are painting skin. I got over 40 minutes of footage condensed into 20 minutes, so without further ado, let's get into it. First up, we got the lighter skin tone. I leaned towards a more peachy undertone, but you could also use something more towards pink or olive. I start off by alpha locking the sketch layer. I don't do line art, and I change the color from black to reddish brown. It will give the skin an extra warmth. The layer then is set to multiply. At this point, I'm going to work with an airbrush. Yes. It can be helpful if you know how to use it. I know it's been forbidden in the art community, but we use it anyway. I want to add some depth this way, so I use a bit darker color in places that naturally get some color, like cheeks, nose, lips and ears. With the lips, I like to blend a bit of the skin tone into the bottom lip to give it a more natural look. Also, sorry for the chaos happening on the canvas. I will be occasionally jumping from place to place. Right now, I'm focusing on the eyes and I only shade the outer corners to add some depth as well. I try to build up the saturation gradually to create softer transitions, switching the hue towards red. I wanted the cheeks to turn out round. With less softer features, I would focus on light and dark variation more to show how the planes of the face change. Here, there isn't much space for hard edges. I messed up the neck. I like the one on the right much better when it's done. You will see what I mean. Also, you might have noticed I give the space between the eyes a bit more shadow. That's because the nose bridge starts right there and I want to communicate it more clearly. Now, right after I make a new layer for the hair and clip it to the skin layer, I alpha lock it. Then I color pick the skin color and tap with an airbrush at the edges of the hair layer closest to the skin. It makes the layer look more blended. It's a personal choice, but I don't know, I really like to give a brush of color to the layers surrounding it if I feel like they look off. Speaking of the devil, I don't know if you noticed, but she had no eyebrows until now. That's because the airbrush is so big it would have brushed them out of existence, because I kept them in the same layer as the hair. I lasso tooled them on. Also, you can see there is a massive triangle on her forehead because I marked where I want the light to hit when nobody was looking. I used the same lighter yellow for the inner corners of her eyes, under the nose, the corners of her mouth and at the point of her chin. I will blend them out later with a smudge tool. I like to use a darker grey for the eyeballs and I go from dark to light rather than the other way around because it's easier for me to guess where the light will hit rather than where the shadow will fall. I'm adding some shadows next with brown that will turn out to be not as saturated as I wanted them to be. So in the end, I shade with a dark red. Then I'm making a separate layer for the shading, not to affect what I did previously. I changed the blending mode to multiply and use grayish purple, but that's just for now. When I'm done, I will change the color. I always use more layers and blending modes with lighter skin tones. I don't know, I think that's because I have more experience with rendering darker skin tones. Especially with my original character Madriel from a comic I'm working on, being my comfort character. That's why you will see me use more layers to make sure I get everything right with lighter skin tones, which doesn't always happen. I don't always get them right, but the magic of digital art is giving me as much attempts as I need. I also love darkening the corners of the mouth a bit. It gives an illusion of a smile and it's just so cute. The shadow on her neck is so weird. Why did I do that? I'm only noticing it now, but I swear I sometimes can shade necks and clavicles. It's rare, but it happens. By the end, before merging all of the layers together and rendering, I'm also coloring the sketch again to make it lighter in some places and more vibrant in other. Another of my guilty pleasures is using cooler color for a secondary light source. Sometimes I'd use rim light instead, but I usually put it on a side of the face where the shadow is darker and saturated. It can also be used to fake chromatic aberration, just not in this case because the light is pretty scattered and soft. Final step for this part of the video is placing a pink layer above all of the others. Blending mode is set to soft light to bring out the pink and make the colors work better. When choosing dark brown for a character's skin color, it's good to remember darker skin tones strongly reflect the light, which doesn't mean you can't use shadows. I just remember to never use black because it has no saturation, it's the absence of color. Unless I'm going for a retro comic style, I lean towards right bottom corner of the color wheel. So dark browns and dark reds are some of the options. The process isn't much different. I airbrush the cheeks to give them a blush. I also make sure to find the clavicle first in this example. Just look at the shading on this neck. Wow, this is acceptable. I forgot to tell you a quick tip on how I shade the lips. I make the top lip darker and the bottom brighter, but also shade under it when it's getting further away from the viewer. We all gotta think 3D. Like the face is mostly made of spheres, so shade it like a sphere, like multiple spheres. The eyebrow area and nose are cubes and trapezes. They have sharp edges. This face is mostly spheres, some stretch, some merge into cubes like in the nose, but it all comes down to the shapes. When you add light to the face, imagine it's a concealer. Watch makeup tutorials, it's literally the same placement. Before we move forward, remember what I told you about the illusion of a nose bridge with the previous example. If your character has a really small nose bridge, or if the ridge, the longest part of the nose, is curved, you don't draw a straight line from the tip of the nose to the space between your eyebrows. Not your eyebrows, the character's eyebrows. The planes further from the viewer are generally darker, so you can see the nose tip is the lightest, and as the ridge deeps, it's getting into the shadow of the curved bridge of the nose. I'm once again using the secondary light source on the side of the face. When I add too much, I change the color to transparent. That's available for Clip Studio Paint users, and use round brush to erase the excess. I use some pure white for the reflections in the eyes and make some lines of the sketch layer lighter. I played with the light reflections on the cheeks and decided to leave some of the blush because it adds so much to the face. I added the soft light layer as before, but it wasn't really necessary, so only the shadows get a bit of vibrancy, but I really like the contrast the blue light is giving. I wanted to give you as much information throughout this video as I could, but if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section. And if you'd like to leave a video suggestion, you can leave them here as well, or head to my channel page and vote for a type of videos you'd like to see the most. Thank you for making it till the end. For more videos, make sure to subscribe. I have great plans for videos, but they need time, so this is the last video update of the year 2025. I wish you Merry Christmas if you're celebrating, and sending a huge thank you to the ArtTuber Hangout Discord server for providing endless motivation. I'll see you in the next video.